Hi there, Vibe Gardeners. Welcome to another episode of Vibe Gardening from Edition. We're going to do a little update on this little garden here that hydroponic garden we did in Hydroponics 101, where we kind of went through the process of how I made um, a beginner-friendly DIY um, DWC system. With that said, let's go. All right, so let's do a recap of what happened here. So, if you guys remember, this is about 3 months ago. I did my Hydroponics 101 series where I built this DIY deep water container system here out of a storage container. And I had to give it about six growing holes here for growing parsley, cilantro, and basil. And things have kind of gone very interesting since then. So the two cilantro seeds did just fine, and the two parsley also did just fine. But it turned out the two basil hole didn't exactly produce the basil that I was looking for because I didn't realize due to circumstance with last year's climate, the basil seeds were infertile and would not produce any viable crop. So I had to go back to my prior year's basil crop, and due to lessons learned from basil, which I'll go into a little bit in the future, is that I decided to go with only one basil plant, and then I introduced another parsley into one of the basil holes because it's one of those things that I discovered that I cook a lot with parsley. In almost well, actually, the majority of the dishes I make, I use parsley. So it makes a lot of sense for me to increase my parsley footprint. So that's what I did here. And I'm going to go into a little bit of each herb and the lessons learned I've had from it. And then I'm going to go into some of the hydroponics, generic hydroponics challenges that I kind of ran across and how I maintain the system to be so efficient with what I'm doing. With that said, here we go. All right, so let's take a look at this system from the ground level. As you can see, it is thriving. And one of the main reasons, if you look down here, this is actually a one of the vent registers for my furnace and or HVAC system, and it's actually blowing hot air all the time. And I made a smart choice of putting cilantro in the back here, and this actually helps quite a bit in that the cilantro is heat loving, and not only is that warm draft creating the ideal climate situation for cilantro, it actually heated up the solution itself in the hydroponic system by at least about, I would say, 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which gives it a very warm condition for growing. And everything is absolutely exploding from that temperature increase. And so that's why everything is growing very rapidly. And so let's go into a little bit of the crop. So as you can see, this basil plant here, it had a late start because obviously, like I said, I planted 2 years ago's basil crop, and it's still very fertile. And this one right here, I'm trying to prune it aggressively because one of the things I learned from another basil experiment is that basil, if left untrimmed, will grow absolutely out of control. And this time, I'm trying to be more ahead of myself in controlling that growth by trying to shape the way that the plant grows. I'm trying to get it to grow more sideways, horizontally than vertical, and hopefully not cover too much of the other plant. As you can see, it's already running out of room to go upwards already. But I'm trying to get ahead of myself on that. And so let's go to parsley here. Parsley, generally speaking, this is one of the healthiest parsleys I've gotten here. It's hard to see here, but everything, I'm going to get a closer look in a minute. It's growing quite well with more older ones being stereotypical established parsley. And over here, this one here, this is a later one because of the competing roots from the earlier two and everything else. It didn't get as big as the other one, so it's fairly thin on the stem, but it's still fairly healthy. And so this one is showing that the root competition coming late in the game is not the best. And I'll go into a little bit of the detail of the cilantro because you tell of the two genetic variants, and one of them has absolutely gone crazy. So that's kind of where everything is generally as a herb system. So with everything so crowded in, it's kind of hard for me to show details of everything at once. But here, as you can see, these three are the parsley. These two right here are stereotypical strong ones, and this is the late one I talked about. As you can see, the base of the crown of the plant, there's a significant size difference, and these two are significantly bigger, and this one is significantly smaller. And this has already, these two combined have already produced a good about 2 pounds of parsley already. By this point, as you can see, all the trim marks here with these cuts already. This one I've only trimmed about 2 or so leaves from it. As you can see, it's not exactly that strong, though the leaf themselves, as you can see, is quite healthy, but it's not growing to the massive size of these guys right here because of just the root competition that's been happening. So if you look down here, as you can see already, we're seeing a good portion of, you see how small this root is compared to these two? And that is actually quite expected with what's been going on with the root competition, that these guys were well established before this guy came, and they just had no chance to catch up. So cilantro is a much more different story. As you can see, this is my more typical one, and this one is looking like it's already running about, I'm guessing, 2 foot tall. One of the things I kind of noticed about cilantro that I didn't realize before, since I didn't have a successful crop last year, was that cilantro has a much more floppy stem, and it kind of leaned over and it adjusted to the shape of the shelf leg there, and it kind of went towards the window. And you're not seeing it on this screen, but it is running along the window, and it's about a foot against the window, another foot coming out this way. So it's about 2 foot long, which I'm kind of guessing is sort of a normal cilantro size. And it's still producing quite good leaf, though it's looking like it's kind of getting ready to bolt already. But it is about 2 foot tall, which is quite normal for cilantro. So the second cilantro I kind of want to focus on a little bit is this guy right here. As you can see, it is significantly thick. It's running to be almost my index finger's fatness, and this one is gargantuan. As you can see, it's kind of nestled here in the middle of my parsley, and this thing is massive. Each one of my shelf is about 2 foot tall. As you can see, it is coming here and crouching on the space of my wife's succulent garden here, and over here it goes all the way up, and it is actually protruding above this shelf already. This shelf right here, as you can see, is a full 2 foot wide and tall shelf, and this thing is about to go up to the second level of succulents and tropical plants my wife has. And as we get closer, you will see interesting behavior in that it is already flowering. You see the beautiful flowers it's producing right here? It's already bolting. So this guy right here is massive. This is what's been causing the major, when I get into the system overview here, this is causing the major drain on the solution here in the system, as this plant is massive and it is thirsty. And I never bargained for a cilantro plant this big. So here we are. This thing is absolutely massive, and it's unlike its neighbor. All right, so the other thing I want to talk about a little bit, as you know how I do these updates, I like to talk about the system. So as you can see in the under, I've shown a little bit earlier, right? The look under the lid. This is right now only after 2 days, and the solution is already down to about here. So it's already halfway depleted. And so what I generally do here is I would take RO water, filter water, reverse osmosis filter water. I would fill it to about here. So essentially what happened here is that I'm guessing we're losing about half a gallon or 2 liters of solution a day. A single day, we're losing 2 liters of solution. And the main reason for that is I believe the size of the cilantro is so massive. It's very thirsty. It's basically propelling this 2 liter a day drinking. I'm assuming it's contributing to 1.5 liters of solution absorbed in one single day. And so it's a significant problem for maintenance of the system. And that's why essentially next time I do a donation run to food gatherers, the food bank locally, I would cut down the whole entire mass of cilantro to basically make the system sustainable and easy for maintenance again. Because this is just taking too much effort for me to maintain. And with only about 2.5 gallons of solution here, or approximately about 10 liters, it is a major upkeep. It's going to drain everything in about 5 days. That is really fast for any hydroponic solution. And already I'm having to lean everything over so that it can basically crawl up as it needs to. And for nutrition, what's been going on is the basil is the least uh, forgiving of high nutritional concentration. It can take about 1.8 um, what's called no, actually 1.6 EC or 800 ppm. So what I've been doing is I've been feeding this thing to the lowest denominator, which is basil, which is like 800 ppm. And I've been so what I do is I top off the tank with RO filtered water, and once I top it off, I'll essentially add my 2-part white label nutrition to get it to 800 ppm, and that's generally how I do it. And let me tell you, getting all that RO water is quite tedious. And once I get rid of these that massive tall cilantro, I will actually see if we can start shifting over to the filtered tap water that takes the chlorine out of it, and see if that's going to get the job done for me, because it is getting to be quite annoying to have to consistently filter that much RO water with how fast it's drinking it. All right, guys. So I hope that's an interesting little update on this hydroponic beginner system that I built from a hydroponics 101 course. I don't usually do an update 3 months later, but since this is one of those things that is a sideshow compared to my spinach and hydroponic spinach, my gardening container experiment, I kind of just want to show you guys a little bit of what I learned this season in the winter of 2026 of how growing these give me a lot of information on how herbs grow. And overall, I'm really debating if I should do cilantro hydroponically in the future. If I do, I'm definitely going to give it one of those massive containers that I use downstairs, those 15-gallon containers. And that tends to basically just do a lot better in this kind of situation. Those are running about like close to 60 liters, and it's a lot more forgiving for extremely nutrition hungry plants like cilantro. And other than that, parsley, I think I'll keep growing it up here. It's closer to my kitchen than my basement. And basil, it's already starting to show that it is getting out of control with the haircut situation. If it continues like this, we'll see. I might have to just chop it down and basically put basil outdoors to attract pollinators and help with my tomato paste sauce making. So that's it for this time. So guys, keep gardening and keep vibing. Let's go.